So Ganesha, traditionally, is worshipped first in the Indian system. Any practice, any ceremony, any ritual, we always invoke Ganesha at the beginning. He's known as the Lord of Beginnings, and he's also presiding over the element of earth. And as long as we're a human being, we live on the earth, everything grows from the earth. So if we want to grow, and we neglect the roots, nothing can grow. Would you agree? So, however we would like things to grow, we have to take care of the earth. So whatever energies we would like to invoke or encourage, if we invoke Ganesha first, it's going to help us. And what we're going to explore together today will hopefully give us more of an understanding of why that's the case and how that's the case. So we sung Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha. What does this mean? What's Sharanam? Sharanam means refuge or shelter or protection. So we take refuge, shelter, protection in Ganesha. What does Ganesha mean? So it means a lot. One of the defining characteristics of Samskrita, it means literally well made, well constructed. So Sanskrit terms have this amazing capacity to condense a lot of information into a relatively tiny linguistic form. But the word Ganesha is constituted of different elements. We can break it down, but to begin with, let's just focus on two. Gana, say Gana.
Gana.
And Isha.
Isha.
So Gana means group, and it also means a member of a group. And it relates to the verbal root, which means to count, to enumerate, to group together, to gather, to cluster, all these types of ideas. So Isha, what's Isha? Isha is the Lord, is the energy that can unify the group, that can make the group cohere as a whole, as a congruent whole, can bring the many and make them into one. So Ganesha is basically an incarnation or a representation of yoga. Because what does yoga mean if not to bring all the members of the group into togetherness, into oneness? Yoga suggests and recognizes that when we're a human being, we are constitutes of different parts. Ultimately, there may be one consciousness, but we experience ourselves having these different parts. Have you experienced this thing?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever felt part of me is pulling me in one direction, and another part is saying, no, I'd rather go over there? And another part is saying, can we just stay here, please? Have you experienced this?
Yep.
So you can relate to this idea of being made of different parts, yeah? And when the different parts are pulling us in different directions, how does that feel? Does that feel how you want to feel? Stressful? Confusing? Discombobulated, fantastic word. I was with some children yesterday, one of who was 10, and he's quite into language and reading, and he was saying, that's a very fancy word. And I said, why? Because it has 3 syllables, so discombobulated, 6.
Wow.
Let's play the game. Can we beat Ganesha's 6-syllable word? How does it feel when I feel pulled in different directions? Can anybody give a 1-syllable word? Gone from 6?
La.
Blah. It feels blah. What did you say?
1-syllable word?
Yeah.
The. Yeah.
It feels the when you feel pulled in different...
I see. How does it feel when we get pulled in
different directions? One way we could say it, we feel torn, yes? I don't know how old you are or if they played this song when you were a kid, but I was born in the 1970s, so I was a teenager in the 1990s. There was a very popular song called Torn by a singer called Natalie Imbruglia. You know this song? No? Yeah. Nothing's right, I'm torn, I'm all out of faith. Something like this, she says, yeah? How about when all the parts come together and function as one? How does that feel? Everything's right, I'm whole. Yes? Would you agree? When everything comes together, it feels whole and it feels good. Yeah?
Very good.
Very good. And this very good feeling, it doesn't feel strange, it just feels like, Yeah. So there's that Ganesha represents the sweetness of coming home to our innate capacity for fullness, togetherness. So Ganesha is an energy that we have inside. Because we have conscious awareness, we can use that, deploy that, work with that to help invite ourselves into greater cohesion. And from the point of view of yoga, when we notice ourselves feeling discombobulated, confused, torn, this is the opportunity, the invitation to work with this situation and learn a bit more about the tendencies that we are, let's say, the tendencies that we are carrying that pull us in different directions, and how we can perhaps reconfigure them, become more aware of them, and so transform their fragmenting capacity into something that can support us. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, in yoga, we start as we mean to go on. Because yoga is defined, classically, in the Bhagavad Gītā, as samatva, say samatva.
Samatva.
And samatva means the quality of it being even, so evenness, balance, harmony. And then Krishna in the Gita goes on to describe yoga as karma sukhausharam, which means skillfulness in our actions, skillfulness in the things that we do. So this skillfulness, what's a synonym of skillfulness? We could say is efficiency. Would you agree? Yeah, when somebody's very skilled, they do it in a dexterous, efficient way. They don't waste energy. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So I would say a skillful cook, they don't waste a lot of energy, they don't make a lot of mess, they're very efficient as they go. Would you agree? Yeah. Yeah. Skillful gardener, they're able to do the work much more quickly than somebody who's maybe not so experienced. Yoga karma sukhaushalam, this skillfulness is demonstrated in the yoga texts and in the yoga teachings. For example, when one goes to several types of Hatha Yoga class, what is the first posture that is usually incarnated at the beginning of the practice? Samastitihi. And what is samastitihi? If not a blueprint for what every posture is aiming to invite or move towards or deepen our understanding of. Yeah? Samastitihi, even standing, standing steady and even. Samastitihi, we could say, is an energetic representation of the classic definition of yoga asana from the Yoga Sutra, stira sukham asana. So yoga asana, classically defined, it is stira, say stira,
Yeah.
steady, and it's sukham.
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 Sukha.
Now kham means space. Su, good space. So kham in the Indian vision of reality, it's not empty. What does it contain?
Good vibrations.
It contains vibration, yeah? It contains sound. So sukham means a space in which there is good vibrations. So stira sukham asanam means a seat of awareness in which there are sustainable good vibrations. And samastitihi, it's like I'm inviting myself to embody the energy of sustainable spaciousness and good vibrations. Make sense? So we start as we mean to go on. If I take samastitihi and I feel, yes, everything is flowing smoothly, evenly, I feel fully connected, integrated, balanced, harmonized. Do I need to do any other postures? Don't need to. Yeah, I'm already there. But we are reminding ourselves what we are doing these postures for. So if I go on and make all these different shapes in space, in a way that I'm straining and draining myself, am I going to feel a greater samastiti quotient at the end of the practice, or a reduced sensation of samastiti? If I strain and I drain, I'm not going to feel a lot of stira sukham asanam, yeah? So we remind ourselves where we want to go. We make a clear orientation. Because the Indian tradition, like many around the world, recognizes everything in existence has inertia. Once something takes a certain form, it's likely to continue having that form. The guitar in the corner is still the guitar in the corner. Eventually that guitar will disintegrate and dissolve. It will be no more. But between now and that eventual demise, it maintains its shape and form more or less in the guitar-like shape and form. Yeah? So the first step is half the journey, they say. So at the beginning of the practice, we want to set our intention energetically to help us move in the direction of our deepest longings. Would you agree? And what is our deepest longing? One way we could say is Ganesha. It's that desire to feel whole, to feel one, to feel integrated, to feel balanced. So just as at the beginning of the Yoga Sutra, for example, the whole teaching is encoded in the initial sutras and is then elaborated. When we take recourse to the realm of archetypal mythological story and symbol, similarly, right at the beginning is encoded the whole teaching with the energy and the symbolism of Ganesha. This yellow sheet that I gave out, these tattvas or gunas, these are what the Sāṅkhya-Yoga system or vision of reality recognizes as a practical map or model of our existence. These are different constituent parts of the field of our individual being and the field of existence that we experience in. Tattva, tat means that, and tva having the quality of. So tattva means thatness. It's part of that which is real, which exists. Another name for these is gunas. These are the members of the group of reality, members of the group of existence, members of the group of who we are as an individual. So in the Indian vision of life, it's not that we have a body and a mind, we have a field of conscious experience. So we could describe this field as a realm, a kingdom or a queendom or a city. Here we are in the city of San Cristobal das Casas, as many barrios, many different neighborhoods. Do they always see eye to eye? Not always. Sometimes in a city, different neighborhoods have different things that they would like to do. They don't always agree. Similarly, within the city of our being, sometimes some parts want more of one thing, other parts would like less of that thing. Some parts get a lot of time in the sun, figuratively speaking, other parts don't really get a lot of attention. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if that's the case, what are we going to experience in this city?
Imbalance.
Imbalance and maybe hostility, maybe even gang warfare. Yes? But Ganesha, the English, remember we sang Om Ganganapataye Namaha. So the English word gang has come from this Sanskrit root. It means a group. So Om Ganganapataye Namaha, we are namaha, we are bowing, we are offering ourselves towards the energy that can unify all the members of our being. So the Ganesha energy is the energy that transforms the gang warfare into a harmonious team in which all the members of the group play together in a mutually supportive way. So we transform this dissonance, this fragmentation into a field of harmony. We make the whole field like an orchestra that can move through life as a symphony. Would you like to move through life as a symphony? Yeah. So Ganesha is a representation of that. So, shall we... Do you know how Ganesha got his name? This name that means that which can unify. No. Okay. Would you like to hear how he got his name?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. So, let's have a story. Yeah? And for this story, we will travel on the wings of imagination to the Himalaya. Okay, ready? Close your eye. And we have to go to the Himalaya. So, what do you picture when you picture the Himalaya? What colour?
White.
White.
Grey.
White and seamless?
Grey.
Grey.
Bright blue.
Bright blue. Excellent. So we've got this mountainous vision in our mind, yeah? Do you know what Himalaya means literally? Hima is snow. So I'm very glad you said white is the first colour. Oh, that snow up there in the high mountains. Alaya means the abode or the home. So Himalaya is the abode of snow. Now, this word snow, what do you associate with snow? whenever we go into the realm of story, we're really entering the realm of the imagination and language and poetry. And in the Sanskrit tradition, they say a word can have its denotative meaning. So what does snow mean denotationally? It's cold, white precipitation. Yeah. Snow has connotations, the connotative meaning. And then there is also the suggestive meaning. And when we enter the realm of story and symbol, this is what we want to also enter, the realm of the suggestive meaning. So when we travel to the abode of snow, to the high Himalaya, what does Himalaya represent? There is a saying in English, maybe Bradley or Venetia might know this saying, as the driven snow.
White.
As the driven snow?
I actually don't know.
As pure as the driven snow. So have you ever had that experience? If you wake up and you went to bed and the land was green and brown and blue and red, whatever colours it is, and then you wake up in the morning and everything is covered in this blanket of white snow. Have you ever had this experience?
Yes.
And it looks pure, virgin, yes? We say, can you be the first person to walk out on the virgin snow? So the Himalaya has this connotation of being the pure place. So the idea also, when we listen to a Purāṇic story, can we listen in that, what would be called in yoga, nirvikalpa way, the way that is devoid of presumptions. So we go on with our imagination, but we allow ourselves be suggested by the story. What might the story tell me today? Even if it's a story that I have heard 100 times, maybe it's something new for me today. Just like every time we see the fresh snowfall, it's inspiring. Even if you've seen 100 of these experiences in your life, every time the snow comes and blankets the land after it's not been snowing, it has this very beautiful quality. Would you agree? So we travel on the wings of our imagination to the high Himalaya. And who lives there? This is the abode of Shiva. Say Shiva.
Shiva.
And what does Shiva mean? Shiva means that in which everything exists. It also means pure consciousness. So we go into the high Himalaya and we want to go to the realm of nirvikalpa, the realm of where we're not being influenced by our conditioned ideas. We're listening as open as we possibly can. And we've gone to the place where Shiva likes to spend his time. Why does Shiva like to spend his time in the Himalaya?
Pure land.
It's a pure place. So Shiva, what's his favourite pursuit? He likes to meditate. He likes to reside in the medi state, the state of complete integration, of pure, unadulterated awareness. So where better to invite a deepening of the state of pure, unadulterated awareness than in the high, pristine, snowy lands of the Himalaya, so high that nobody goes there. This is an old story. It is a Purāṇa. Do you know this word, Purāṇa? It's a beautiful word, Purāṇa. Pura means different things in different contexts. But Pura means long ago, ancient times. Purāṇa means ancient, but always fresh. And Purāṇa is the word for the stories of Indian mythology, and also the whole realm of symbol. So we have Purāṇic story and symbol. But literally Purāṇa means ancient and ever fresh. Ancient and always new. So, you know the classic beginning of a story, once upon a time, or a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Where are these stories set? Basically they're set now, because they're telling us of the truth of the human experience. So Purāṇa is not just found in the Sanskrit tradition. We have stories that people find useful, relevant, full of truth with a capital T, in the sense that it's always true, it's always real, from all traditions. Yeah? This is a Purāṇic story. And it's set in the high Himalaya. And back in the day when it was first told, the high Himalaya was a pure place. Mount Kailash, for example, where Shiva likes to reside in the Himalaya, is said to be the most pure place. And pilgrims would not climb the mountain. They would approach it from a distance and then circumambulate it and do a big circumference of peregrination. But they wouldn't go up. These days, of course, the high Himalaya may not be so pristine white. Maybe it is. The slopes may be peppered with the fluorescent colours of mountaineers' abandoned gear. But this story was set before climbing Mount Everest was a fashionable craze. That was supposed to be a joke, but my British humour doesn't land. But these days there's a lot of people in the Himalaya, but back then nobody, only Shiva. And who else does Shiva have with him? He has his Ganas. Say Gana.
Gana.
Oh, the word Gana, Ganesha. Ah, interesting. Shiva has his Ganas, his gang. Who are his Ganas? These are his attendants. And they're all shapes, sizes, colours, fragrances. They're a wild, crazy bunch, are the Ganas. Only Shiva can administer them, can control them. But they dutifully serve Shiva because he loves them. Who else do we have in the high Himalaya, in our idyllic, pristine mountain scene? Shiva, at this time, his beloved has reincarnated as Parvati. Say Parvati.
Parvati.
And Parvati is the daughter of Parvata. Parvata means mountain. So Parvati, she is the beautiful Mother Nature. And she is Shiva's beloved, the daughter of the mountains. And they are there together in the high Himalaya. Theirs is a relationship that is beyond time. Eons and eons it goes on. But that notwithstanding, at this point, they're still learning what it means to cohabit, to be together in harmony. Now Parvati, when she incarnated, there was only one man she was interested in. Who was this?
Shiva.
Shiva. Yeah, Shiva goes by many names. One of them is Stamba, which literally means steady, like a pillar. He was the only one that was steady enough for her. She was often, people say, oh, you could have any king of the world. I'm not interested. She only wanted to be with Shiva. However, having chosen the steady one, why is Shiva so steady? Because he's also Yogīśvara, the Lord of the Yogins. So being the Lord of the Yogins, what does he like to do? He likes to meditate. Do any of you like to meditate? How long do you like to meditate for?
45 minutes.
30, 45 minutes? Yeah. Similar?
Hour or two.
Hour or two? Yeah. So in the few minutes to a couple of hours range. Yeah. How long does Shiva like to meditate?
Eternal.
Eons and eons. Now, Parvati, she chose Mr. Meditator. Having chosen Shiva Yogīśvara, who likes to meditate, she got a man who has tremendous steadiness. He can be steady amidst all her beautiful expressions. However, what else she also basically sentenced herself to? Sometimes she's going to not have a lot of his attention. Sometimes Shiva is going to be off in undifferentiated oneness and impervious to the dance of nature outside himself. During these periods, how may Parvati feel?
Lonely.
She may feel a little lonesome. Yeah. She may feel a little longing for her beloved in her heart. Yes? Mm-hmm. Now, Shiva, he has his Ganas, and they're all standing guard, making sure that when he's in the meditating mood, nobody can interfere with that. Parvati, she has, do you know who she has? She has her Sakhis. Say Sakhi.
Sakhi.
And the Sakhis are her friends. They're female friends, her girlfriends. So if Parvati is feeling, remember, she's the daughter of the mountain, and she's Mother Nature, so she knows she's got lots of friends. If she's feeling lonesome, she puts the call out to her Sakhis and they get together, and they have a fine old time, all ladies together. Parvati, daughter of the mountains, Mother Nature, she knows all the best places. Now, can you imagine? Imagine you're there in the Himalaya. What might be a really cool place to hang out with your girlfriends?
A lake.
A lake, or
River.
a lake, a river. Yeah, like the water sports. Yeah.
Waterfall.
So waterfall, lake, river, waterfall. Well, Parvati, she knows this enchanted secret cave where you have a lagoon and you have waterfall and you have all these different rivers and you have like basically a crystalline spa. So it's in the Himalaya, like it's like the super pure spa, and you've got like big swimming lake, waterfall. You can put yourself under the waterfall. You've got a natural jacuzzi. You've got a hot tub, cool tub, ice bath, all of it. Yeah. All of these beautiful crystalline colours and this gorgeous sparkling light. So when Parvati feels a little lonesome, the Sakhis really enjoy it because she puts the call out and they all get invited to this amazing cave. And they all get together. And what happens when the ladies all get together in Spa Cave number 1?
Naked.
They take off their clothes and they splash about. And how do they feel? Woo! They're having a lovely time, all having lots of fun, they're laughing and splashing. Now, sometimes when the ladies are splashing around, what does the conversation turn to? Just all ladies together. Oh, sometimes it turns to men. Thank you for your direct honesty. Yes. Anyway, there they are. They're all splashing around, having a fine old time. Until it just happens that there they are, and somehow Shiva, atop the mountain, on his meditation seat, on his tiger skin, he feels the waters within him start to bubble up. And Shiva feels, yes, it's time for me to re-enter the phenomenological world. Yes, I would like to see my beloved. So slowly he opens his eyes. Who does he want to see? Parvati. Who does he see?
His Ganas.
His Ganas. Yeah, they're all right standing around. He calls a Gana over and he says, hey, can you do me a favour? And how does the Gana feel? Shiva's asking to do a favour? Of course. What would you like? Well, I'd like to see Parvati. Could you go and fetch her? Ask her if she might come and pay me a call. And the Gana thinks, of course. And so, oh, sorry, I messed the story up.
Oh, no.
But it's retrievable,
Okay.
Yeah. It's only a man. Just getting a little bit ahead of me. So Shiva wakes up, he sees his Ganas, he wants to see Parvati, and he thinks, and they all say, Namaskar, and Shiva says, Namaskar. And he thinks, who do I want to see? He wants to see Parvati. This is Shiva. So using his antenna, he thinks, oh, where is she? Ah, there she is. And he makes his way across the Himalayan towards the spa cave. While the ladies are in there, it's like the peak of the party time. And so Shiva can hear, he knows she's there. He just walks straight in. Shiva, he's a mountain man, he's a caveman. He doesn't really pay a great deal of attention to social etiquette. So the ladies are all splashing around. He just walks right in. He's naked himself. All these naked ladies. And then Shiva walks in. How do they react?
Startled.
Very good. Excellent. And some of them do this. Some of them hide behind a stone or a pillar. Some of them jump in the water. Some of them make a big show. Decide which part of myself should I cover? But really, how do they feel when Shiva walks in? So this is just added to the excitement of the party time. We're having the day's got even more exciting, even more fun. But how does Parvati feel? She's a bit embarrassed, yeah. Shiva's eyes never leave Parvati's eyes, but she feels embarrassed with all her girlfriends around, yeah? So she's like, can't you knock? She was like, knock? What are you talking about? No, I mean, can't you see? I'm with all my Sakhis, they're all naked. Just go back. And so what does Shiva do? Oh, fair enough. Never mind. He glides out, and then what happens? He goes back to his tiger skin on top of the mountain. He drops back into meditation, and what happens in Parvati's body? Her heart drops, because what's she been waiting for all this time? To be reunited with Shiva. And now this commotion in the spa cave has sent him away for who knows how many eons now. So Parvati is feeling, she was embarrassed, now she feels, how do the Sakhis feel? They feel a little bit guilty. They feel a bit, what did we do? Because they know that she's been waiting to see him again so long. But they're good friends. Parvati's there and she's like, but the Sakhis get together and they're like, we must be able to do something. Nobody can ever disturb him with all those Ganas standing around him. It could be eons before he comes out again. No, there must be a way, there must be a way. And then one of them has an idea, and she feels so inspired with her idea. She calls Parvati, Ma, we have an idea. And she says, go on. Well, Ma, when Shiva is meditating, nobody ever disturbs him. No. Well, why not? Because of his Ganas. Exactly, Ma. Go on. Well, Ma, we thought, why don't you make your own Gana? And then, if we gather here again, because we would love to do that sometime soon, if we could. If we gather here, the Gana, he could stand at the entrance. And then if anybody came who didn't know about the dress code, he could just tell them to wait. There's something in this idea. Yes, I will think on this. Leave me now. And so the Sakhis, they make their way off. And Parvati is turning this idea over and she thinks, I like this idea, but if I'm going to make a whole new being, never mind a Gana, let me make a sun. Because if we have a sun, then Shiva's not going to hang out in Zero Land all the time anymore. He will be pulled that much more forcefully into the variegated, colourful existence of the family life. Never mind a Gana, let me make a sun. And this is Parvati, Mother Divine. Her Ichcha Shakti, her power of will, how is it? Unlimited, boom, job's done. And now we have a beautiful youth. And he doesn't, they skip all the usual things. And just, there he is. And he's like 8 to 10 years old. He's in that he's already, in his very small, obviously, he's Mother Divine's mind-born son. So he's quite sharp, yeah. So Parvati enjoys teaching him, training him. Parvati, you may know, she is the embodiment of all the 64 colours, the 64 arts. So she has great fun passing on all of this knowledge, wisdom and experiential embodied understanding to her beloved son. What type of student is he? He's like a sponge, yeah? He just draws it all in. And before long, he's a great poet, he's a great dancer, he's a great chef. And one day, Parvati says to him, my child, there are a few, now for that, you'll need your dad to show you. Dad? Yeah, you'll meet him soon enough. Oh, okay. But that's all, he's never heard the name Shiva or anything like that, just tell you your dad. And so, but the boy, he doesn't know anything of dad, he's just been emerged into this realm where he has the best tutor ever, and he's enjoying the expression of all of these arts. Parvati's finished her schooling. She says, for the other things you need your dad. And Parvati feels, actually, this only happened because of my Sakhis. So I should really let them see what their idea has brought about. And really, the only fitting place for us to gather is when? We have to go back to Spa Cave number 1, yeah, because they love that place, and that's where they had the idea. So yeah, and so Parvati puts out the call, and the Sakhis start making their way to the Spa Cave, and Parvati instructs her son. He says, my child, today I have a new task for you. Anything you like, Ma, tell me. Well, I'm inviting my Sakhis over. You've not met them before, but these are my very good friends. You know, we've been through all sorts together. And we have this place that we like to gather on special occasions. And, you know, your becoming was because of an idea one of them gave me one time. So I feel tremendous gratitude for them. And when we gather all ladies together in the Spa Cave, it's important that nobody disturbs us. So your task, anybody comes, you just tell them to wait, not to disturb us. Come back another time. Okay? This is so easy, of course I can do this. Anything else you'd like me to do? No, this is all. Fair enough, I will be ready, waiting. If you need anything else, meantime, no one shall disturb you. The Sakhis arrive, and they see this beautiful young boy, and they think, wow, nice work, Ma. He's a very charming young man, youth. And the Sakhis go into the cave. Before long, what starts to happen? Yeah, they're having a good time. I don't know what it is about bath time. Shiva's only been back meditating relatively for him a short while, but again, the waters within him start to bubble up. He thinks it's time to come out. Who does he want to see? He opens his eyes. Who does he see? Ganesha. He remembers what happened last time. When I messed up the story. So this time, he's not going to go himself. He calls a Ganesha over. He says, can you do something for me? And the Ganesha, and this is the Ganesha feeling, of course, yeah, of course, my Lord, instruct me, anything you like. He says, I'd like to see Parvati. Please can you go and fetch her and tell her I'd love to see her? And the Ganesha thinks, of course, a Ganesha, of all the Ganeshas, he has been chosen to go and fetch Parvati. In order to fetch Parvati, he has to run across the Himalaya. Does he feel any difficulty in this? Having been chosen by Shiva, he's like a great, parkour, those guys. So he's jumping from one mountain to the other, full of inspiration, serving Shiva, and he arrives towards the Spa Cave. You can hear that's where they are. And he's thinking, he's already prepared his speech. He's going to lie full prostrate on the ground and say, Ma, I have great news. I come from Lord Shiva. He has come out of meditation, and once again he longs to see you. What a wonderful day this is. I'm so honored to deliver this message. Will you come back to Kailash with me? So he's been preparing the speech. But can he give this speech? No. He arrives at the cave, and he's thinking like he's going to knock, very respectful. But he sees this kid who he's never seen before, standing, very kind of smart and like to attention, very alert. And the kid sees him. Ho, ho, ho. And the Ganesha says, oh, ho! And he says, it's a wonderful day today. And the kid says, yes, it is. I come from Lord Shiva. Now, remember, he's never even heard this name before. And the boy is like, I don't care who you come from. Please, go away. Something that my mother's in here and she doesn't want to be disturbed today. And the Ganesha's like, no. Today is a very special day. Lord Shiva would like to see Parvati. We've all been waiting for this for so long. And the boy says, did you not hear me? No. My mother, she's not to be disturbed today. Please come another time. Another time. This is the time we've all been waiting for. All of nature's going to rejoice so much. Shiva is ready to be reunited with Parvati. And the boy says, did you not hear me? Not today. Go away. Don't disturb them. And the Gaṇa, now the Gaṇa's thinking, who is this kid? He said, no, you don't understand. And he tells me, but it's Shiva and Parvati, mother and father of the universe, and when they get together, this is what we all long for. And the boy is like, did you not hear me? I said my mother's not to be disturbed. And he's feeling very dutiful. He's doing his job. Now the Gaṇa, how does the Gaṇa feel now? A few moments ago he was so full of inspiration. Now how is he feeling?
Angry.
He's feeling a bit like disconcerted, yeah? Like, what if he doesn't do what Shiva asked him to do? What the whole of nature is longing for? And so then he gets angry. He's a kid. The Gaṇa, he's been around the block a few times. So he thinks, the youth, even though he's a youth, but he does look rather capable. His mother has given him all the training in all the 64 arts, which includes the martial arts. Anyway, the Gaṇa comes up and he says, I've already told you why this is so important. If you're not going to listen to reason, I have no alternative. And he tries to remove him. How does that go? Not very well at all. Next moment, the Gaṇa has a broken arm.
Oh, jeez.
And the boy says, I'm sorry, but I told you. And the Gaṇa realizes that this kid is no normal kid, and he thinks, what can I do? So he retreats. And now, just moments before, he was dancing through the clouds, jumping mountain to mountain. How does he feel now?
Deflated.
Very deflated. His head's hanging low. He finds a rock and he sits on, and he's trying to massage his arm back into. It's terrible pain. And then some of his Gaṇa friends come by and say, "Hey man, what happened to you?" The Gaṇa tells a suitably face-saving version of what happened. And his friend said, "Some kid, you never seen him before, and Shiva sent you? This won't do at all. Come on, take us there. Let's sort this out." The Gaṇa, he forgets his pain now, because what's he thinking? Now I'm going to show this kid. And so they come back. Now there's a big group of them, a big gang. And the boy sees them coming. "Hello, namaskar. I told your friend that, no, not today. My mother does not want to be disturbed. It's a special day with her girlfriends." And now the Gaṇa's like, no. And so again, they try to tell him. They explain why it's so important. "Look, I told your friend today she's not to be disturbed. Come another time." The Gaṇas look at each other like, is he not listening? And so they explain one more time. It's Shiva, it's Mother Divine, how important he is. The Gaṇa is like a broken record. It's just, my mother is not to be disturbed. The Gaṇas, the gang. They've been around a while. They're used to working together. So what do? They give each other the signal, and now they attack en masse. Did you ever see one of those old kung fu films? Where you've got like 20, 30, 50, 100 people, and the hero's in the middle doing a dance with the elements, and they go flying in every direction. It's a bit like that. His mother, she's the epitome, the embodiment of all the arts. So when he went to martial arts school, he's kind of like Bruce Lee times a million. And so now we have a whole gang of wounded Gaṇas, broken bones, lacerated skin and hide, and they all go limping back, and they said, well, we've got to tell Shiva. And the first one was like, and they're a bit, they know that this is such a special possibility that maybe they have messed it up, they're feeling very anxious. But they go back to Shiva. And Shiva, he's expecting to see Parvati. When he sees his Gaṇas like they've been at war, what happened? And they all look to the first one, and he feels kind of, embarrassed. He's so embarrassed he can barely speak. "You can tell me." "Boy!" "Boy, you say?" "Virabhadra!" So Shiva, he has no patience for his Gaṇas. He doesn't know what's come over them, but they all seem completely, out of it and embarrassed, and they can't. So he summons Virabhadra. Who is Virabhadra? Virabhadra is the most fearsome of all of Shiva's Ganas because he's completely fearless. And he was formed the last time when Parvati was incarnate and she immolated herself in the fire. And in Shiva's wrath, he pulled one of his jata, like his dreadlock-like. Jata, they form when the two hemispheres of the brain fuse and then the current creates these, a bit like dreadlocks. But he pulls one out and he throws it to the ground. And then emerges this fearsome Ganu who says, "Tell me what to do, my master." And Shiva says, "Go and take care of the thing." And he does. And so now Virabhadra appears again, "My lord, command me." And so Shiva says, "They'll tell you where you need to go, sort it out." So now the Ganas, they forget their injuries for a moment and limping. You know, have you ever had an injury but you had to run anyway?
Yeah.
So they're all running along like that. You know, and they all go back, and then the boy sees them coming, and he's okay. They want more. Okay, it's a chance for me to practice. You know, I don't know what Mum's doing in there, but she seems to be having a fine old time. I can practice my martial arts. So they're getting thrown here and there. When all of a sudden, then Virabhadra swoops in from behind the boy and scythes off his head. And the head lands on the rocky Himalayan ground with a sound much louder than my hand. But then another sound, 1,000 times more terrible, rends the Himalayan air. And what is this sound?
Parvati.
This is Parvati. As soon as this happens, she feels it. And she emerges from the cave. And she's howling. And then she says, "My son." And Shiva's like, "My son? What's going on here?" And so many ideas are running through Shiva's awareness. Parvati doesn't say anything else, but she looks at Shiva with the fire of 1,000 apocalypses in her eyes. And the eyes, they scream, "Do something!" And so Shiva is Ganas, go in every direction. Come back with the first head you find. We can still save him. And so the Ganas, they used to work in as a team. They go off in every direction. One group, they go to the north, and they're going down into the foothills. And then in front of them, so they're coming into a forest, and they're going along a kind of forest pathway. And in front of them, what do they see? Moving towards them with its graceful gait, they see this beautiful old elephant. And the elephant seems to be, as elephants often can be, smiling. And the elephant's like kind of sashaying towards them. And they look at each other. He said, "The first head we came across, but it's huge." He said, "The first head we came across, I don't know if we could even cut it off." And then the elephant keeps coming towards them. And then the elephant, it's making the Indian head gesture, the South Indian head gesture, for yes, you found what you're looking for. And making this, smiling and making this gesture and putting out its trunk almost playfully, invitationally, it lays its neck down to say, "Come on, chop it, take it." And the Ganas look at each other and, "He did say the first head, okay." So they have to work as a team now just to manage to saw through the thick elephant's neck. And then with their various injuries, together, working as a team, they manage to carry it down and then back up the mountain. And they present it to Shiva, who's waiting. Shiva takes it in his hand effortlessly, places it onto the decapitated body of the previously glorious looking young boy. All the Ganas have come back. How are they feeling? Shiva's taken the head. Oh, he asked them to bring a head. They brought a head. They feel a little bit relieved, but how else do they feel? Anxious. A little bit anxious, yeah. We chopped off there. And now they've realised something. You know, we chopped off the head of the son of Parvati. Yeah. So they're thinking, well, if it doesn't work out, what's going to happen to us? Yeah. So they're a little bit anxious. So they're all looking, they're all, what's going to happen? Anyway, miraculously the head fuses with the body. They feel a little bit of relief. And then, the belly starts to move. The creature, with the elephant's head and the young boy's body, it's palpating, something is moving. The breath of life is happening. Some colour comes into the grey cheeks. They think, oh. But now what else they're thinking? This is the son of Shiva and Parvati, and he already demonstrated that he was, the greatest martial artist we've ever encountered, and now he's got the strength of an elephant. They're still anxious, yeah? They're not so worried so much about Shiva and Parvati, but now this creature. So that they're kind of ready to try and do that limping wrong away, but they can't take their eyes off the creature. Big, slow breaths. And then, its eyes start to open. The Ganas, they're all kind of edgy, but then something amazing happens. The creature, with the elephant's head and the boy's body, slowly opens its eyes. And then it looks around all the Ganas there gathered, and it looks deep into their eyes with recognition, with acceptance, with what can only be described by that word that describes something beyond description. Can you guess the four-letter English word?
Love.
Love. And what happens to the Gana's anxiety? It dissolves. It melts. And the Ganas, they can't take their eyes off this one with the elephant's head. Parvati, meanwhile, has been filling Shiva in on, sometimes I had to wait so long, and so I just skipped the usual proceedings and thought, I'll make a song like that. Oh, right. Oh. And so, okay, I have a song. And so now the son has the elephant's head, and Shiva says, my child, come. I didn't get to be involved any other way, so I'm going to name you. And your name shall be Ganesha. Because I just saw you know the power of yoga. You know what it means to be able to unify those things that would seem impossible to unify. You know what it means to be able to reconcile with things that would seem like they would never be able to be reconciled. And so, my son, I call you Ganesha. And henceforth, whenever there is worship, you shall always be worshipped first. Ganesha, come here. And this is how Ganesha got his name.
And his head.
And his head. Did you enjoy the story?
Yes. Yeah, it was good.
Is there anything curious about it?
What happened to the elephant?
What happened to the elephant?
Yeah, he just laid down.
Yeah.
He just lay down.
He just stayed there.
And he gave his head to be put onto the boy's body. Yeah? So in laying down to the earth, he did not die, he became Ganesha. But this is a bit curious, no? Like, there are some questions that often come up with this story. What could be one question?
Consciousness in the brain or not?
Well,
Why not just use the boy's head?
Yeah, I know.
so Parvati created him like that,
Yeah.
and Shiva is infinite creative potential as well.
Yeah.
So why don't they just put the old head back on? Did anybody else have this question? And then, why have all the heads in the world
An elephant.
an elephant? What do you think? Are these important details?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell
This
us
is what
why.
the story is all about. So, why did he have to lose the head? He had to lose the old head because it was no longer fit for purpose. What did the boy want to do? He wanted to serve his mother, yeah? Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
What did the Gana want to do?
Serve
Serve Shiva. Who are Shiva and Parvati really? Really they are one. We talk of them as two for convenience's sake, but it's consciousness and its power to create. Consciousness and Mother Nature. What did Shiva want?
Union.
With Parvati. And what did Parvati want? She was longing to be with Shiva. So really, the Gana and the boy, they wanted the same thing. But what happened? The boy, the immature, unseasoned one, couldn't see that really what he wanted was actually the same as the Gana. Why could he not see it? Because
he was blind.
He was blind. What was he blinded by?
By like his service to his mom.
By his idea, by his belief, by his conditioned idea. He was fixated instead of focused. And so he had to, that head, it was not open-minded enough.
It had to go.
It had to go. And this is what it means to practice yoga. It's like, okay, I'm going to chop my head off. I'm going to replace it with one that allows me to look a little bit more broadly than I looked before. Make sense? But why the elephant's head? And why did he have it chopped off by Virabhadra? Remember, who was Virabhadra? He was the most fearless and fearsome of all of Shiva's Ganas. So he is the epitome of the yogic warrior. What is the hallmark of the yogic warrior? What is the yogic warrior's principal weapon?
His sword?
No.
His body?
No. It is his 360-degree global equivision. Let's say that together. His 360-degree global equivision. This is the distinguishing quality of the yogic warrior. Because the yogic warrior's purpose, dharma, is to serve the sovereign. And what is the sovereign's duty? To serve the well-being of the whole, loka sangraha. In order to serve the well-being of the whole, where do you need to look? Everywhere. You can't leave anything out, yeah? Do you know that posture, Virabhadrasana? The warrior posture? It's a posture of openness, it's a posture of expansion. So it's the one who is always serving, but with the big global perspective, that initiates the one he's got that spirit of service very strong. So he's got many great qualities, except they're being directed in a fixated way instead of a focused way. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So the boy has to learn what every yoga practitioner has to learn, that any rule worth respecting will bear being broken for the sake of the principle that it is designed to enshrine. Make sense? So the rules are not to be followed. The rules are to be apprenticed to. So we work with the rules to help us understand what are they really for, what's the underlying principle. Like one of my friends who's a sailor, he said, oh, it's just like my boat. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, when I was a young skipper, I cut my hair very neatly, I dressed very smartly, and I followed the protocols. When the wind comes in this way, then I tack this bit first, and I do this bit with that sail, and he follows all the rules. But now I've been skippering people around the world for 10 years. I really trust myself. I know why all of those rules and procedures are as they are. And so now when I'm out skippering, he grew his hair long, he dressed slightly differently than he used to, and now I dance with my boat. And he says, you know what, James? When the storm comes, what happens to the rule book anyway? It gets swept off the deck, and then you have to find out how well you understand the principles. So this is like the yoga practitioner. If we're bound by the rules, sooner or later, where do we find ourselves? We find ourselves where Arjuna finds himself at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gītā, torn, not knowing what to do, because the rules we have lived by are no longer vast or inclusive enough for the situation we find ourselves in. And so in these moments we have to say, What were the rules really pointing to? What is the deeper underlying principle? And so this is what Ganesha symbolizes, because he has that courage, that drive, that enthusiasm, that willfulness of the young boy. But what else does he have? Of all the animals, which head did he get? The wise old elephant. What's special about an elephant? Why do you think he has an elephant's head?
Because they're big.
So big,
They're big.
so they can see.
They're big and they're tall, so they can see a big perspective. Definitely. What else?
They're noble.
What makes them noble?
Well, just like their gracefulness, the way that they move and just comport.
They're so graceful, yeah? Now, when I was a boy, I grew up in the country called England. And sometimes if a child knocked something over, sometimes I heard adults say, "You clumsy great Heffalump," which is a slang term for an elephant. Only somebody who lives in a country where there are no elephants would ever describe a clumsy person like an elephant, because how are elephants? They're so graceful. One time I had the privilege of riding an elephant in Thailand, and my parents were with me in a kind of, you know, those little kind of, like a box on top of the elephant. But I was on an elephant in front, and the mahout had said, no, sit on the head. And I went, oh wow, so I got on the elephant's head. And the mahout was one that was sitting in the, he was one with my parents, so I'm just with this elephant, just me and the elephant, and he's put me on the head. And then we're leading, and we're going through the forest, and we come to this steep hill. It's really quite steep. I'm on the head. The elephant, it bends its hind legs. So instead of being like this, I'm at this much softer angle. We go down, 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 and then we come to the river. And the river's about 20, 30 meters wide, at least, maybe more. It was a big river, and it was flowing quickly. And with the elephants into the water. And I'm thinking, oh. And then the water's coming up, up, up. What does the elephant do? It stands up taller, so I'm higher above the water and feeling relaxed. Then we go across the river, and I just see thick jungle in front of me. How do we go from here? But somehow the elephant gracefully snakes its way through. And so the elephant is very, very gracious, definitely. And so the boy has that drive, and the elephant has the grace. Put them together, and it's very effective. What else? You mentioned the elephant is big. Also growing up in England, another strange, erroneous idea about the jungle that I had. What was I told? The lion is the king of the jungle. One time I was at a talk in South India, and the Indian teacher said, only an idiot, a Britisher who's never been to the jungle would say that the lion was the king. The tiger is a much more ferocious animal. In the Indian literature, in various places, they describe the lion, the tiger, and the elephant all as the king. And there are these figures of speech that describe, you can't differentiate between them. They're all regal in their different ways. But the elephant is also described as the king of the jungle. Why?
Well, he's
Isn't it predators?
Say again, Chris?
Does it have predators?
Because it doesn't have any natural predators. And what does this mean?
No one can really harm.
And what does that mean?
No enemies.
And so that person lives, if you have no enemies,
a peaceful life.
lives with peacefully. What else is special about the elephant? It's related to this. Before we go to that,
Okay.
when I was a child, as well as the Jungle Book and other such things, I enjoyed watching a series of films in which elephants were sometimes seen. Oh, can you guess? Tarzan, yeah. Now, in Tarzan films, one place that was mentioned many times, that I hadn't heard of before I watched Tarzan as an 8-year-old, whatever, was a place with elephants. You know what I'm talking about? The elephant graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
What are elephants also famous for? When it's time for them to die, and many elephants do die a natural death, what do?
Go to the
Yeah, they say goodbye to all their friends that they've lived with, and then they make their way to the place where they will die. So, sometimes yoga is described as the art of living. But really this means the art of living and dying, because we cannot separate the one from the other, yes? Life and death, they go together. So the elephant demonstrates how to die well. The elephant goes, says goodbye, and then calmly, serenely goes to die. So how would you like to die?
Peacefully.
Peacefully, feeling no pain, no regret, no sense of angst. You'd like to go feeling ready, yeah? Fulfilled, complete. Would you agree? So the elephant is an icon of that type of life and death. Why are they able to do this? They have no natural predators, but what if he's a baby elephant and there's a big hungry lion or tiger?
It's vulnerable.
It's vulnerable. And sometimes there are stories of big cats going for elephants when the natural food sources have been interfered with a lot. But what happens to the young elephant? Does the lion get to feast on a young elephant? Why not?
It's protected by the gang.
It's protected by the gang. They also know how to work as a team. Even if some parts of them are very tender and vulnerable, they're not so vulnerable because the others work as a team. So the elephant knows how to work as a team. It knows how to take care of the things that are vulnerable. It knows how to survey, see the big picture. What else? Yes, the elephant never forgets. Yeah, why does the elephant never forget? This is also linked, I think. Memory and migratory patterns, yes. So, in South India in recent years, this has become a bit of an issue because elephants, what do?
They walk.
They deforest. So tradition, like back in the day, what does an elephant eat? A lot of vegetation. So what they would what they would do, they'll go in a place and they'll prune the forest very thoroughly, and then they won't go back the next year. They'll wait a few years so the forest fully regenerates, and then they go back. So they have their migratory patterns. They go over a big area, and they expect to find the forest recovered and eat it again. But what do they find sometimes these days? Oh, there's a town or a village.
Or a crop.
Or there's some monocrop where but they never forget. Why do they never forget? They say in India, in yoga, when we are truly present, then we don't forget. When we're truly present, we remember. And the idea is presence, this idea of remembering. When we bring all the gunas of our being into the present moment, then, in that depth of presence, we don't have nothing's left out. We're not worried about the future. We're not hanging on to the past. We're in the present, so we experience it fully, and if we need to recall it, we'll be able to. So, the elephant head symbolizes all of these beautiful, noble qualities. And so Ganesha, he symbolizes the union of these things that would seem impossible to unify. But once we do start to invite these disparate parts of ourselves to come together, then we have this transformational, perhaps surprising experience. Wow! Things I thought were beyond me are not. I can do things that previously I thought I might not have been able to. And so another symbol of Ganesha's form. Can you imagine if now entered the room, I don't want to badmouth anybody in particular, but do you know this character called Richard Dawkins? So he's a famous atheist, yeah? If he saw this image, I don't know the man personally, but the way he speaks, he takes a very extreme rational materialist position sometimes. So imagine a person who has an extreme rationalist worldview, sees this creature, this archetype, who has the huge elephant's head and the body of a little boy. What might this person say?
That's impossible.
That's impossible. That's a children's story. That's impossible. According to the laws of physics, if we put the huge elephant's head with its vertebrae that are, 5 times as wide as a whole human being, and we put that onto the little skeletal frame of an 8 to 10-year-old boy, what would happen?
Get crushed.
It would get crushed. Or if by some chance miracle it didn't get crushed, then what would happen?
Just couldn't.
It would just topple over. Yeah, and then the whole thing, it just wouldn't work. They would say this, yeah? It's
But you
impossible.
didn't see him fighting just a couple minutes ago.
He didn't see, yeah? They didn't see. Because what does this tell us, yeah? Impossible is nothing. It can seem like it's impossible. But when we bring ourselves into togetherness, then we can often prove ourselves wrong. To give an easy example, one time, I think I mentioned this the other week, but one time I was teaching in the Philippines and there was this lady who was going to the yoga class. Her son had opened a yoga studio, teaching vinyasa style yoga. And this lady had recently retired and she was really enjoying going to the yoga class, feeling really good, feeling lots of energy, feeling strong and healthy and fit and everything. But any time that the teachers involved these arm balancing postures, she was like, forget about that. And she just did child's pose. The crow posture, Bakasana? She just didn't like the idea of that. So she just thought, that's for the young kids, I'll just take child's pose for a few minutes. But all the while, she's going to 1 or 2 classes every day, and she's doing plank and chaturanga and all of this stuff. So she's actually cultivating lots of connectivity through the arms into the spine. One time, this visiting teacher comes to the class, and he doesn't say, let's now do Bakasana. He instructs it. So he says, with the hands on the ground, they're in plank. He says, now draw the right foot forwards and place the right thigh on the outside of your right upper arm. And he just talks them into the posture, and then suddenly she's there, in Bakasana, and it feels solid and steady, and she's like, and then he tells them to come out of it, and she's like, she almost can't believe it, but she feels like she could stay there for a few minutes. She feels super stable. And then time goes by, and then she's doing handstands and all sorts of things. But she thought she would never do any of those things. But she allowed herself to do it. She followed the instructions. She did it with good faith, with wholehearted presence, and then she's doing something she thought she would never be able to do. So similarly, in broader aspects of yoga practice, sometimes we might think, that's impossible to reconcile. So when I look at the world and look at all these, there are some conflicts that have gone on for so long. And one thing I find really strange is that if we ask the people involved in the conflict what they really want, the things that they really want, most of it is the same. But they disagree about a few things. So what did the gunner and the boy want? Really they wanted the same thing, they just couldn't see it. So when they actually allow themselves to witness what the other really wants, maybe then a reconciliation that we would never imagine was possible will be possible. And so for me this is what Ganesha symbolizes, the power of forgiveness, the power of reconciliation, the power of including, the power of listening. Another thing about the elephant, we've got a picture of an elephant over there. Compared to a human being, what do you know? It's about the dimensions of the gateways into the kingdom of his bodily vehicle. The bodily vehicle is known as having Navadvara, 9 apertures, 9 doorways. And when we look at Ganesha's apertures, what do you know about the elephant?
Well, they're much bigger.
The ears are very, very big, and the eyes, relatively to us, are relatively modest size compared to the ears, yeah?
It has 4 hands.
He has 4 arms, yes.
Oh yeah. Is there anything in that from the story about the 4 arms?
So the 4 arms is something that we find having many of the Indian deities. So we'll come to that in a moment, but just the idea of look at the difference to listen in a way that is listening more broadly than we've done before. So somebody said a beautiful thing to me the other day. In Spanish, he used 2 different verbs. He said, listen to other people but follow your heart. He said, oye los otros, oyes a tus amigos, pero sigue tu corazón. Or escucha tu corazón. So listen as widely as you can, but then listen to your heart. Listen to your body. Listen to your senses. Each of these gunas, each of these members of the gang of our being has tremendous intelligence. So when we look at the indriya, the jnana-indriya, the kama-indriya, the powers of action, the powers of knowing, our senses have so much intelligence in them. Do we listen to them? Oh, I should eat this because somebody told me I should. But our tongue and our nose has so much intelligence that can guide us to what really is nourishing for us. It might be very different day to day and season to season. Make sense? Yeah? So listen to, we have all of these amazing powers. Do we take care of them all? Not always. In modern society, many of them get neglected. You go to school and there's so much emphasis on mental capacity. Who gets taught to taste at school? Who gets taught to move at school? We get taught to be able to sit in a chair all day. Very unnatural. But we have innate all these amazing guiding natural capacities. So Ganesha energy means listen to all of them, include all of them. What happened when the creature came back to life and he looked around all the ganas with all the different shapes, sizes, aspects, characteristics, tendencies, personalities? He took them all in with his inclusive gaze. So sometimes we have parts of ourselves that we like, parts of ourselves that are well trained, well practiced. They get lots of exercise. But sometimes there are other parts of ourselves that maybe haven't been given so much time in the sun. Yeah? So some people, for example, they're very good with words or with numbers or with spatial awareness. I had a friend at university, you know the reverse park maneuver when you park a car? He would do it, you know, some people it's like, oh, it's a bit of a challenge to do that parking maneuver. He would do it like this. Super fast, millimeter perfect every time. He liked cars. His father actually had a car garage where they sold cars and repaired cars. But it was unbelievable how he could do it. It's like his spatial intelligence was so good. Some people, they have tremendous kinesthetic intelligence. Like, you know, you can imagine a professional dancer maybe like this, for example. Some people, when they go into a room, they read the emotional field very well. Some people, if they hear the word, read the emotional field, they feel terrible. You know, what are they talking about? And they don't feel very in tune with that. Yeah? We're all different. We have our stronger parts and our weaker parts. Ganesha means let's use our strengths to invite our weaknesses to become things that can support us. Because the thing that I'm neglecting, if I give it some attention, maybe it can empower me in tremendous ways I wouldn't have expected. So we want to unify all the group. We want to give them the experience of working as a whole. If I do neglect some part of myself, let's say, so we look at the sheet of the tattvas and the gunas. Let's say, for example, I neglect my pada, my padindriya, my capacity to move. What's likely going to happen?
Get stuck.
Get stuck, yeah? Energy stagnates. But what happens to water? We have 70% water, more or less. What happens if you leave water standing for too long? Oof, not good, yeah? So how many different ways can we move as a human being?
Infinitely.
So many different ways. What's special about the human being? You know, if we compare ourselves to an elephant, we're very weak. If we compare ourselves to an ant, relative to our body size, we're so weak. But what's special about the human, we can move in lots of different ways. We can run and climb and roll and crawl and twist and turn and hop and all these different things. Do we do these things? So moving in different ways can be really helpful to join up all these different synaptic connections in our intelligent nervous system, yeah? What about taste? Do you do things that are really to your own taste? Or do we allow ourselves to just pick from the menu that society offers us? There's a teacher called Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves and many other things. And she says, don't make the mistake of deciding what you want to do from the menu that she says the word overculture offers you. Instead, look inside. What do you want to express in this world? What do you want to bring into existence? What do you want to experience? So, am I really living in a way that is tasteful to my soul? Yeah? So all these types of questions, every tattva or gana, every member of the group, we can use it as a lens of inquiry. Creativity. What do I want to create? What an upasta, payu, elimination. What do I need to eliminate? What do I need to let go of in my life? What's no longer serving me? What would I like to create in its place? So we have here not just a map of the constituent ganas of our being, but we also have many invitations for inquiry that we can use to invite greater integration, greater harmonization, greater gathering of all the parts of ourselves. Yeah? So, that's a few words about Ganesha. Anything else about the story? Any other questions? Or?
What happened to the warrior that chopped his head off?
Virabhadra. Virabhadra goes back to just be ready to serve Shiva.
Does his job and just goes back.
Does his job.
Great. Cool.
But
he wasn't phased like the other gunas.
no, but once Virabhadra has done his job, he's also done the job of teaching us. So his appearance in the story leaves us. It was a dramatic appearance, so he's only there, he only plays a short part, but it's a significant role. We remember it, and so we remember, if I am to come into a state of Ganesha, if I'm going to become joined up, if I'm going to give myself the chance to be more balanced, more efficient, then I need to remember the lesson that the boy learned. And so I need to, the invitation is, where does Virabhadra go? He goes in here, and I have to ask myself, do I need to chop my head off again? And then what I often find is, again, it's time to chop my head off again. So I will leave San Cristobal tomorrow, and I thought to put a post on Instagram. You know, there's that saying, that Latin saying, like, I came, I saw, I conquered. I thought, I came, I saw, I was conquered. San Cristobal chopped my head off about 24 times in 8 weeks. Like the lessons of life, they will invite us to let go of this blinkered, fixated idea of how it should be, or how I am, or what this is, or what this has to be, and invite us into a vaster iteration, a vaster recognition of who we really are. So can I be more like the elephant who moves through life with grace and fearlessness and total presence? So nobody asked the question, but it's, what else is Ganesha very famous for?
Removing obstacles.
Removing the obstacles, yeah. So you can see in the illustration up there, I think, I say that because, yes, you can see down on the right side by his feet, you can see a little Mushika, we sang to him already, Mushika Vahana, his Vahana, his vehicle, Ganesha's Vahana, his vehicle is, Mushika is the mouse, or the rat. You see in the picture it's like a little black rat.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
black rat is there.
It's really dark, but yeah,
It's really dark, and it's got a sweet laddu in its hand. So you know, Vishnu has Garuda, the Lord of Eagles, and Shesha, the Lord of the Snakes, as his vehicles. And Subramanya, Ganesha's brother, has the peacock. But what's Ganesha's vehicle? The little rat, little mouse. What's that tell us? Traditionally, in the Indian vision of life, the elephant and the rat, or mouse, are eternal enemies, which makes sense. You know, if you're a rat, you don't want to be around. You've seen how big the elephant's foot is. Not the right place to be. But Ganesha, his vehicle is the rat. So what does this tell us? Again, this is this idea of the power of reconciliation and inclusion. But what do they have in common, the elephant and the rat?
They both have big ears.
Very good. And? We said, so remember that experience I shared of I was sitting on top of the elephant's head and the elephant was walking through the forest across the river. We get to the thick forest. I cannot see a way through. I'm sat on the elephant's head and it looks impenetrable to me. And I think, is the elephant going to start pulling down trees? Is this part of the tour we get to see how strong the elephant is? But no, the elephant finds a way through. So the elephant, even though it's huge, they can do this in the forest. They can find their way through. Imagine that you've collected all your grain. You've harvested in the autumn time, you've put away the grain for the winter. Who can find his or her way into your granary, even though you locked it and sealed it?
The elephant.
Our little friend the mouse or the rat can find the way, yeah?
Not again.
So they both have this capacity to be able to find the way. So this idea of removal of obstacles, sometimes people say, oh, we sing to Ganesha first because he removes obstacles. But this is a bit like the people who say, oh, I sing to Lakshmi because I want money. Really, that's not the principal symbolism of the deity. Ganesha, we sang Vigneshwara earlier. Vigna means an impediment, an obstacle. But Ganesha is the lord of obstacles. He's the lord of the group, the ruler of the group, the one that can unify the group. One of his subsequent names is the Lord of Obstacles, the Lord and place for obstacles, and only then is he the remover of obstacles. And so this reminds us, if we're practicing yoga, are obstacles on the path? Will we encounter obstacles? Yes, we will. So my friend, she says, obstacles are not on the path, obstacles are the path. It's the obstacles that invite us deeper into that gathered energy. When we face something that stretches us, that invites us into that state of experience in which we can recognize more of our true underlying capacity. Do you know that book called Flow? Mikhail, I've forgotten, it has a surname that's quite... Do you know, there's this book called Flow, it was a research, you research flow state. It's that the flow state depends on a certain degree of challenge. To get into that state of real presence, it's helpful if we need to work, yeah? If things are too easy, it doesn't recruit all these amazing powers in the same way. When we face a challenging situation, then those things that we may have been neglecting, we need them. And so it invites us more into the present. So Ganesha, not the remover of obstacles, is the energy that allows the obstacle to be transmuted into something that becomes then a propeller. It can become an empowerment. Once I've faced the obstacle and worked my way through it with the calm, graceful serenity of the wise old elephant and the steadfast enthusiasm of the young boy, then I smile on the obstacle because it has empowered me. Make sense? So we can think not so much remover of obstacles, but the transmuter of obstacles, the one that can transform the obstacle or the hindrance into an opportunity. And Krishna in the Gita says this, this is your lucky day. When you're facing a challenge, this is giving you the opportunity to find out more who you really are and what you're really made of. And the idea is, Ganesha, like in the story, why did Parvati think it was going to be a great idea to bring him into being? Because then she can get together with Shiva. It says that the obstacles, the challenges of life, they invite the powers of our conscious awareness in our embodied nature to come together more. And so the challenges of life are our opportunity to come more and more into the potential that is innate and already pulsating within us. So Jai Shri Ganesha. And victory to our capacity as human beings with conscience to listen to that conscience, that pilot, that's pulsating in the heart of our own heart, and do what we can to work with all of these miraculous gifts and bring them into that state of harmony and congruence. Okay. Would anybody like to share anything or ask anything?
Well, what comes up is like the boy and the guna, I forget his name.
The Ganesha, yeah, he didn't have a name just yet.
They are like expressions, they're the representations of the desires of Parvati and Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like actions. They're how we show up without necessarily thinking, just on impulse, on like a desire. And they both want the same thing, which is union. And so they have this two servants acting on their behalf to bring about this union.
Yeah.
And what stuck out to me is that in order to do that, we have to separate ourselves from like the infantile perspective with like steadfastness, so that we are able to be more congruent. So this is like what we want, then we need to remove all of the petty stuff out of the way. And so I just thought it was really, really interesting how it's just like severed. So it's like there's no time for that. You know, you can't dwell in all of the petty stuff that's holding you back from achieving this union. It just needs to be removed. At the end of the day, you both want the same thing. So stop with like the nonsense.
Stop getting in your own way.
Yeah. And keep the boy. You know, keep the inner child as you grow into this, you know, magnificent being. Like when you achieve that union, do so with the innocence and with grace.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. It's like, so it's not that the chopping off of their head doesn't diminish the drive, the enthusiasm, the exuberance, the giftedness of the child.
But it needs to come out.
It marries it to the wisdom of the elephant. And the other thing to say about the story is that this is not a one-off affair. This is encoding the way of practice. So this will happen again and again and again. Is that we'll get a little bit fixated and we're, I need to expand my vision. So in the story, it's dramatic, it's memorable, but it's a motif. And as we keep practicing in life, certainly for me, this is why I found, again, I've got to chop my head off. Again, I've got to, I was fixated on this idea, or this false belief. Maybe it goes back to the wounded child, and the wounded child took on some pattern in response to some stress or some pain that they encountered. And at the time it seemed like an excellent way to navigate that situation. But that pan lodged, and it's still getting in my way. And then as I keep meeting life, comes situations in which they start to show me, that habit, that tendency isn't really serving me. It's not serving the deeper desire for congruence and togetherness. Maybe it protected me, it kept me in a relatively speaking sustainable comfort zone. But now it's time to step more boldly into the unpredictable vastness of life with more confidence and more steadiness. And this is the other thing about the yogic warrior and the elephant. The elephant lives in a vast, fertile land. The idea is this field of existence is a vast, fertile land. So if I can find the courage and presence to walk graciously, without fear, I can open myself up to the immense, fertile possibilities of life, to experience things that would go beyond what my conditioned ideas would perhaps limit me to. Yes, Prabhu?
Another thought, yeah. Because Ganesh was standing guard, but he wasn't aware of Shiva as Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
So when these Ganas are saying that Shiva wants to see Parvati, well, Ganesha doesn't know who Shiva is.
Yeah.
And that standing guard in the face of something unknown is kind of what happens in life a lot. If something challenges your understanding and experience of the world, you can be like, sometimes more rigid.
Mm.
And and then you could say it's this, I can't remember the name of the fierce guy.
Veerabhadra,
Then life's Veerabhadra will come and like chop off our head anyway. Because it's a servant of that unknown. Basic.
If they apply the 4 agreements, you would double check.
Double check.
Yeah, like if you don't know, then you ask. Like you never asked his mom. Because he was disturbed. Did she clarify that him asking her would be a disturbance or not? But she also didn't build it into it.
But also the Gana gives him all this additional information. The Gana introduces things that go beyond his schooling. He's very thoroughly schooled. He's had a great education. But of course life is beyond the known. So as you're suggesting, when we go, we will keep encountering things beyond the known. So in yoga, when does yoga begin? When we own that we do not know. When we acknowledge, I don't have it all worked out. So Yoga Sutra begins when Atta, now I know I don't know. So he thinks, I know what I need to do. No, I don't. So to be able to rest in that openness, that you could call it uncertainty, you could call it openness. The elephant lives with openness. The animal that's always a prey animal lives in uncertainty. They live in the same field. So can we bring that elephantine fearless quality a little bit more into our own incarnation?
Yeah, like that idea, feeling like I don't have any predators being any negative aspects, the fears, I don't have predators, I don't have fears. So it's embodying that, it's so empowering. It's and it's very big and it's very peaceful, but it's not for me it doesn't feel like warrior, it's just expansive because there's no fear.
No, this is the Yoda, the yogic warrior. So it's a place of serenity. But also there's a difference between, because the elephant can still get attacked. So it knows that it has the resources. So there's the idea, life will not throw at us anything that we're not ready for. So there's the sensible fear, if you go into the ocean and the waves get really, really big, maybe you need to be very respectful. But there's the phantom fear. I'll never go in the ocean because the waves might sweep me away. And so you don't go into the ocean. It's no. Be discerning. The difference between, I call it fear and phantom fear, because fear is a very healthy part of life. We have the inbuilt sense of self-preservation. There's no such thing as a defenseless creature in all of existence, so they say in India. Because all creatures have these indriyaha. They will help us stay in one piece if we work with them. So the idea is, no, we have the resources, we have consciousness, so when difficulties come, we'll be able to meet them. But if I spend all my time worrying, then I'm going to rob myself of the chance to enjoy the present moment. And when I enjoy the present moment, I'll actually empower myself by deploying my gunas, my capacities, in ways that can make me more capable. So when the unexpected comes, I'll be more ready for it. If I try and shrink away from life, I'm likely to become weaker and weaker and weaker, and then when the unexpected comes, I'm knocked over. So instead, can I meet life with openness? So may we move forwards with grace and nobility, with openness for all of the wonderful, nourishing flavours of life. And may we do it in a way that deepens that harmony that's symbolised by Ganesha. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Shanti comes together. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming today. Thank you for hosting all these weeks at Florazon Sagrado. I was planning today, because it's Easter week, yeah? Because there's another thing in the story. It's a virgin birth. So the reason I gave out this heavy, relatively speaking, song sheet is I was going to talk a little bit about Jesus and Ganesha, because we mentioned that Ganesha is the lord of the root chakra, or the earth. So there's a song in this sheet. It's about, I don't know, it's kind of in the middle. Said Judas to Mary, and I was planning to sing this song and then look at a correspondence between the image in the song and some of the symbolism of Ganesha. So it's entirely optional because we've gone past the advertised ending time, but would you like to sing this song?
Sure.
Yeah? So this is a song by a man called Sidney Carter, and in the last verse, I penned the last verse after I went to Golgotha in Israel, a place where Jesus was supposedly crucified. So the tune is it will carry us. So I'll sing the first verse once, and then I think we can sing all together. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Said Judas to Mary, now what will you do with your ointment so rich and so